not too distant future, everything from our banking, supply chains, legal systems, accounting, communications, and even governments could have been redefined. Blockchain, or distributed ledger technology, could soon give rise to a new era of the internet, even more disruptive and transformative than the current one. Blockchain's ability to generate unprecedented opportunities to create and trade value in society will lead to a generational shift in the internet's evolution from an internet of information to a new internet of value. There are wildly different perspectives on the impact blockchain will have on our economy and society, from it being illegal and needing to be strictly regulated to promising the creation of the world's first truly open society. As a result, there is a lot of discussion about this new technology, with the news stories in the press nearly every day. But to the layman, it is highly confusing and difficult to understand. So what actually is blockchain? In this special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, we'll be attempting to find out. And to help me do just that, I'm happy to be joined from Shanghai by Professor Ma Xiaofeng, Dean of the FinTech Research Institute of Tongji University, also Vice Chairman of the Blockchain Expert Committee of the China Institute of Electronics, and in the Beijing studio, Patrick Dai, co-founder of the Quantum Foundation, a Singapore-registered blockchain platform. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Professor Ma, could you please explain in words of one syllable maybe how blockchain actually works?
Hello, yeah. Actually, blockchain from audience perspective is very difficult to understand because it's fully integration of different technical words like peer-to-peer network and cryptocurrency and consensus algorithm. But if to easily understand these words, I describe it as a new generation of information infrastructure. As we know, the internet is old and existing information infrastructure. But the internet can only transfer the information with low or medium value. But the blockchain is a new generation of information infrastructure. It can transfer a digital asset, the high value digital information. How it achieves this functionality? Actually, blockchain is dramatically change the way from decentralized information transfer to distribute the information transfer. How achieved it? I give an example. For example, two users, they want to transfer the digital assets from end to end, but traditionally it must go through the trusted authorities, this kind of intermediary. But for blockchain, it does not need to go through the intermediary. It's real-time broadcast the information to whole networks. So the whole networks will approve this transfer of digital asset. Then it's stored the copy of information to all the network nodes. The way of changing the information transfer is bring three new important factors. First is
we're going to talk. Let's talk about the three different. Professor Ma, let's talk about the three different factors in just a moment. Right now, let me ask Patrick maybe this question, as a lot of people also have been talking about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, and it seems that there is some connection between blockchain and cryptocurrency. So Patrick, you coming from the Quantum Foundation, could you explain the relationship between cryptocurrency, for instance, Bitcoin, and the blockchain?
Yeah, and so blockchain is a very general concept. People use blockchain, they can build all kinds of applications. Yeah, from my understanding, Bitcoin is one of the very successful application based on the blockchain technology. Yeah, but blockchain is more than Bitcoin for sure. Yeah, blockchain is have the potential to become the trusted infrastructure in the future for the society, so people can automatically to do the small business. Yeah, in the future.
Right. I understand now there are also different kinds of platforms of Bitcoin. So why should people choose from these different platforms? For instance, what's the difference between quantum currency and Bitcoin?
Yeah. Okay. Because Bitcoin is the first cryptocurrency developed by the community. But after Bitcoin, we have a lot of other cryptocurrency platform and blockchain platform. Some of the platforms they designed for one purpose. Like some platforms they designed for the IoT industry.
What is Internet of Things?
Yeah, Internet of Things. Yeah. Some other platform like R3 or like some other platform or Hyperledger, they designed for the enterprise use case or for the financial use case. And some other blockchain platform like Quantum or like Ethereum, they designed for the general purpose. So everyone, you can build all kinds of application. So different platforms have different purpose. Depends on which industry you are working on, then you can choose different platform.
Right. Professor Ma, coming back to the three important factors you were about to mention. Yes, please continue to explain what these factors are and why it's important for us to understand them.
Yeah, first factor is that blockchain can bring the self-organized trust. Before blockchain technology, when we try to transfer money to other side, we must go to the centralized agency. But now, because all the data is stored, distributed in all the network nodes, so all the other nodes can guarantee the transfer of the digital asset is true, and so that can create this self-organized trust mechanism. Secondly, blockchain brings the incentive of community building. Before that, all the parties they want to join the community, but they don't have any incentive to build the to help to encourage people contribution to the community and networks. But blockchain like Bitcoin, if people contribute to the Bitcoin community, they get Bitcoin as a return of effort. Thirdly, that blockchain can build this peer-to-peer transaction. Before, as we said, all the especially important financial data, we must go through important agency. But now, from the Bitcoin and from other blockchain technologies, the platforms, we can achieve the peer-to-peer transaction of the digital value.
Well, it's a lot of concepts packed there. You talked about self-organized trust, you talk about open society, you talked about peer-to-peer review system. How revolutionary, Professor Ma, are these factors to the society we're living in now? Because right now what we're having are, in general, the opposite what blockchain is offering.
Yeah, actually, as we said, blockchain is technology is different with other kinds of technology like artificial intelligence and big data, because other technologies mainly have to increase efficiency, increase productivity, but blockchain is mainly impacts relationship, business relationship, also the relationship of society, and it can create a lot of new business model. I give an example. For example, currently we enter into the sharing economy. Sharing economy means all the people can share their own asset, and if they don't use it for others. But the underlying foundation of sharing economy is trust. For blockchain technology, if we see something, it's real-time record in all the networks, so we cannot change it. So that can speed up all these kinds of exchange of information and exchange of valuable assets. So that can radically support the new generation of sharing economy. That's from my perspective.
A new generation of sharing economy. Patrick, your take on the potential disruptiveness or the potential new landscape that blockchain could open for society?
Yeah, I think the blockchain have the potential to become the trusted infrastructure for our society in the next 5 or 10 years, maybe 20 years. It's like the internet. But you know, like right now in the society, we have all kinds of infrastructure. We have water, we have electricity, we have network, we have all kinds of infrastructure.
We have banking.
A banking system,
right,
all the financial system, like Alipay or all the payment solution. Yeah. But blockchain is like Professor Ma mentioned, like blockchain, through the blockchain network, it's a peer-to-peer to exchange the value. You do not need the third party or any middleman. And your trust is not depends on one person or one company. Your trust is based on the mathematics and based on the programming language, based on the algorithm.
And is it a good thing or a bad thing for the traditional financial sector, for instance, Patrick?
Personally, I think every new technology is really like revolutionary. I mean, when the steam power came out, people started producing the cars. Yeah, but you know, people, they are riding the horse, they lose their job. Yeah, so it's like every new technology. When you have some new technology, you need to embrace it. You need to look into it. You need to know the details, and then you can make the technology like a benefit to your business. Yeah.
Well, what is stored on the blockchain need not be just currency units. It can also be put into other interesting uses, can't it? I mean, what do you think are likely to be the principal uses apart from payments? For instance, you mentioned sharing economy. Are there any examples you want to bring to us?
Actually, the application of blockchain technology, from my personal perspective, can be grouped into 2 categories. First is the strong traceability of the blockchain. It can be used for store all the information, data record, like medical information, like the copy or electronic copy of the certificate, and like some important license of the companies and so on. So in my eyes, the blockchain can be used to many categories, especially mainly for those business involved many parties. For example, the supply chain management. And blockchain can help to build the credit system for the supply chain management, can achieve the, as we said, peer-to-peer transaction among the supply chain parties.
Okay, you're watching The Point with me, Liu Xin. We're talking about blockchain, the main concepts, the key principles, and its potential impact on our daily lives. We'll take a short break and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back, and we have been talking about blockchain and its potential impacts on our daily lives. Patrick, various tech giants in China are currently working with the technology, including Tencent, who announced a blockchain research partnership with multinational corporations, Intel, for instance, at a conference earlier this month. Additionally, China UnionPay recently filed a patent for a blockchain-based ATM network, while the media group and electrical appliances manufacturer is also seeking to patent a method for mining Bitcoin with household items. How does China stand in comparison to the rest of the world in its readiness to embrace blockchain?
Yeah, I think like in China, like we started the blockchain industry very early. We have a lot of developers in the community from China, and also we have a lot of startups in the blockchain industry from China. Yeah, but another thing we cannot ignore is like we still need more training for the new talented people to join in the blockchain industry to build some real like use case. But it's a common problem for the whole industry. It's not only for China, because blockchain is super early stage right now.
Super early stage. So, Professor Ma, how do you look at the kind of research China has already started in this regard, where China is now in comparison with the rest of the world? We know that China has put it in the 13th five-year plan, so it's one of the national priorities. But what is China's vision in this regard?
First, I agree with Patrick's opinion. I think from technology perspective, China is as same leading group of technology with other countries. But strongly, China is government and also the regional government is very hardly to pushing the blockchain technology application in the traditional industry. And for example, recently, both Suzhou government and Guangzhou government, they launched a new policy to encourage blockchain application in the traditional industry. For example, Suzhou, the government opened 15 application scenarios to the blockchain tech startups and community to build up the demonstration of the blockchain application in China. Meanwhile, as Patrick mentioned, that the whole industry lacks the qualified technical people, programmers. So that's from the Chinese Electronic Institute and also over FinTech Research Institute. We currently working on building up a new training program for the qualified technical people. I think with this year, I know several universities will open new courses for blockchain. And I think gradually the lack of qualified people the issue will be solved. Yeah, that's my perspective.
Right. Well, it is a sensitive issue. It's for every government, because basically the idea of blockchain is you don't need a centralized power structure. What you can do is, open society. People don't need the middleman. You can basically, do transaction with everyone else in a decentralized manner. And governments are kind of worried about that. Patrick, what are government solutions to this potential disruption to, the kind of power structure we are in today, generally speaking?
Yeah, personally, I think I don't think like blockchain is the enemy of the government. In truth, I think in the future, blockchain can become the friend of the government, because based on the blockchain, the government can make it better, and like you can use the blockchain technology to offering the public service. And it can help you to automatically to do some even some regulation, like in all the financial system we need a lot of regulations. So the blockchain is one of the solutions for government to build a more efficient regulation system in the future. And also in the future, the blockchain have the potential to rebuild many industries. It's help on the GDP. It can make the world economy more efficient and more connected for sure.
But how can the government make sure that the blockchain works for the, assist the government in the job of governance instead of disrupting the job of the government?
Yeah. It's also like I mentioned earlier, like every new technology is for sure it's disruptive, but it depends on how your attitude and how do you want to face that and how do you want to embrace that. Yeah, if you can know all the threat, you can analysis all the potential all the potential threat, then you can solve all these problems and use the advantage for you and take the advantage of the new technology, and you can build a better public service or a better supply chain network for the whole government, for the whole society.
Professor Ma, what do you think of this question?
Yeah. I think as Patrick said, every technology have two sides, and the other fact is the regulation and the policy is always late behind the technology emergency. And as far as I know, from Chinese government perspective, they are support blockchain technology development, especially like Ministry of Information and Industry. They are enacting several policy to support this technology. And the government, I think, is quite open to the new technology. Meanwhile, they are like consulting different key players of this technology communities, try to enact the policies that can support Chinese industry to use blockchain technology, at the same time to use the blockchain technology to leverage our economy. Yeah.
Patrick, what we have experienced is the fluctuation in terms of cryptocurrency, the fluctuations of values. For instance, right now we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars per Bitcoin coin, and yet the price experienced very dramatic fluctuations very recently. Is that the kind of risks we might see with blockchain being applied to more real sector industries?
Yeah, I think it's in long term it's maybe a concern for this new kind of technology, because when the new technology show up, like, you know, people have very small and very little understanding, like on the new kind of new technology. So in a short term, maybe it can create a lot of bubbles. Yeah, but in long term, you know, the technology itself is very natural, and it have a good side and it have a bad influence. It also have a good influence. Yeah, so it depends on every new technology. It depends on how can you really to build some very good use case for the society, and you can really create the value for all kinds of industries like supply chain or IoT, healthcare. Yeah, but like you mentioned, like a Bitcoin, for example, the price change every day, and since it's a very already like a financial market, and it's not fully regulated. Yeah, so a lot of people, they are buying all the cryptocurrency, but most of them have no understanding on what they are buying. That's a very big concern for the new technology.
Well, because it's very complicated and it's very difficult for the layman such as me to understand it. That's why we're talking about it. Professor Ma, exactly how is our daily life potentially impacted by blockchain, and what kind of timeline are we looking at when the individual consumers can really put their hands on the blockchain and change their daily lives?
I think I'm quite optimistic of this industry, because blockchain technology developing so fast. From my perspective, it's developed faster than any other technology, including artificial intelligence, including big data, including cloud computing. Let me give the prediction. I think in 2018 we will see
2008?
in China at least several.
Sorry, you said
2018.
18.
That is this year.
This year.
Yeah.
So 18, what are we going to see?
Yeah, this year we will see several influence applications will arrive. Yeah, and I personally quite strong believer, because I know that Patrick doing some project, we also doing some project. I think the whole industry is making very hard effort to make some application visible to the audience. And I think this year there's some big movement of this industry.
Okay. Patrick, do you want to let us know a little bit about in which area we might be able to expect any tangible changes to our lives?
Yeah, I'm not that like optimistic like Professor Ma. Yeah, because personally I think it maybe take another 2 year or 3 year or even 5 years for the blockchain startups of the company to develop some like a consumer-based like applications. It may take longer. Yeah, because technically like the whole technology is at the super early stage. It need more time to become mature. Yeah, but like Professor Ma mentioned earlier, like a few industries maybe can be first like use the blockchain technology, like the IoT, the healthcare, the supply chain. Maybe we can use blockchain technology in that industry first.
Right. Another layman question, Professor Ma, for people who are interested in this topic but don't know where to start. How can they start finding out about it? How can they start preparing themselves for the arrival of blockchain applications?
I think it's blockchain is different with other technology, as I mentioned. blockchain actually, if people with a different background, they all can enter into this domain because it's new, it's emerging, and also the whole industry is emerging. Like if some media people, they want to do something in blockchain, they first need to know the basic concept and the basic meaning and the basic implication of blockchain, and then they can start probably their own company in this domain, because as I said, the whole industry emerging is full of opportunities. Like Patrick, yeah, he starts his foundation, I think just 1 year ago or 2 years ago. Now he's one of the leaders in this community of the world. And I think especially for young people and for new energetic people who like the belief and like the key principle of blockchain, there will be a lot of much great potential for them, for this blockchain industry.
Right. Patrick, since you have founded this foundation, what is the biggest, how should I say, enlightenment that you have gotten? What is the biggest lesson you have learned, maybe, or achievement you have made?
Okay, yeah. So we started the quantum project earlier in 2016, and right now it's one of the most influential blockchain platform in Asia. Yeah, not in Singapore, not only in Singapore. It's basically in Asia. It's one of the biggest blockchain platform. And I mean, the things I learned from all this kind of work is like you are feeling the people are pushing you. You are not leading the technology. It's the crowd. They are pushing you. You are leading the new wave. Yeah. So that's a feeling, and working super hard, maybe 12 hours per day or 16 hours per day, because the new technology is evolution so fast. Everything is changing every day. Yeah.
So exciting. I'm sure we're going to talk more about this revolutionary technology in the days to come. Many thanks to our two guests, Professor Ma Xiaofeng, Dean of Tongji's FinTech Research Institute and also Vice Chairman of Blockchain Expert Committee of the China Institute of Electronics, and Patrick Dai, co-founder of the Quantum Foundation. And that is it for this special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter using the handle The Point with Alex. Download the application called CGTN to watch our show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN The Point. Thanks for watching. We've got The Point.